Well, hello everyone. It's Natalie Ledwell here, and I'm here with my good friend Peter Scott from Fearless Coach Academy. The reason that I have asked Peter to come in and chat with us today is because there is a number of people in our Mind Movers community, and this is probably you, we're probably talking about you right now, that have gone through some of the coaching programs, gone through USM, maybe, Matrix, and had a transformation. And then feel compelled to then want to be able to share that work with the world. And so, Peter is amazing at being able to help people with not only become a coach, but how to run a successful business. So I thought that was information that our community would absolutely love and find very, very valuable.
Yeah, thank you for having me so much.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your background and what was your motivation to get into coaching?
Yeah, I got into coaching about 12 years ago,
right,
which feels like it was yesterday. It's hard to believe it's been 12 years.
Right.
But I started in coaching because I felt like, honestly, I had this opportunity to impact humanity in a great way. And I was working in a job where I wasn't fully fulfilled. I'm sure you watching this may have related to that currently or at some point in your life.
Yeah.
And I started to learn from different mentors of mine. I actually started to work not through my own company, but I worked for a coaching company. And I went through as a client and really fell in love with it and just became super passionate about helping them with impacting more lives. And then over a course of a few years, I gained the skills to learn how to coach people, how to facilitate transformation, and then became a student of all the things that you have to learn later, like marketing and sales and systems and all those things that I didn't realize I needed to learn in the beginning, but were absolutely paramount to becoming successful. And so that's when I got into growing our business and then helping other coaches launch theirs.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, we can have a passion with those, because we can, have a passion about any kind of, industry, any kind of modality. But unless we have the entire, solution, we can be really good at maybe reaching out to people one-on-one. But if you, are watching this and you've, set yourself up as a coach, but you're struggling to build a business around that, because really that's what we need.
Yeah.
We have a message and we can help people, but we want to be able to reach as many people as possible. And that's what you're exceptionally good at.
Yeah. And today it's more necessary than ever.
Right.
I think 12 years ago, becoming great at online marketing was a nice thing and it helped, but today it's a necessary thing.
Right.
Like it's almost impossible to grow a successful business because there's so much noise out there. There's so much competition out there. But when you actually dial in your message and you know who you're talking to and what you're offering, your message can cut through the noise, and that's when you can really thrive.
Right. And I think, if anything, the pandemic and and everything that we've been going through and what's happening in the world right now is really accelerating. Maybe things that we were looking at before.
Yeah.
When we got quiet, and maybe you've experienced this as well, is that when we got quiet, we got to reevaluate our lives and go, okay, am I happy? Am I happy in this job? Is this what I want to do? And when you kind of realize that, some of the things that you thought were important were taken away, and you're like, okay, I still survive, I still live. And so maybe those things weren't as important. What am I choosing to fill my life with? And how do I want to make a difference?
Yeah.
People,
through everything that's going on in the world right now, there's so much introspection happening. So people are looking at how do they increase their levels of joy and happiness and fulfillment, where before they're kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
And as challenging as some of these times are, I think there's such a gift in the opportunity to slow down, to take a look at our lives and to actually create a vision for what we want and then go pursue it.
Right. And so what kind of, and you've worked with thousands of people, so what kind of coaching businesses have you seen people be able to create? Like, I know that, yes, if they're into sort of some kind of integrative medicine, or if they're into, personal development, or what that is, what are some of the things that you've worked with?
So many different. We've got clients that are thriving health coaches, so helping people increase their energy, lose weight, feel healthier in their bodies. People that are helping others thrive in relationships. We've got a client who helps couples restore trust after arguments, restore trust after painful conflicts. We've had clients help people move through grief of losing loved ones.
Right.
So there's so many different areas of where you can master and you can actually be wildly successful as a coach.
Right.
We even have life coaches, and I love life coaches because I think they have such an intention of wanting to help as many people as possible. And the challenge, though, with some life coaches is they haven't really honed in that message. And so that's one thing that we help them do, to be really specific.
So what we want to cover today is, 7, main issues or main mistakes that people make when they're, starting a coaching program and wanting to build a coaching program.
Yeah.
So what is that first mistake? What's the first thing that we want to look at?
So there are a lot of mistakes, but I've boiled this down to 7. And the first one that every coach I see makes when they launch their coaching business is spending too much time getting ready to get ready.
Right.
Way too much time. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because it takes a lot of courage and confidence to launch a coaching business. Right. Unlike other businesses, a coaching business, we are the service, right? And so many coaches struggle, myself included when I started, with feelings of not being enough or the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves distracting ourselves with things that actually aren't going to launch the business in the first place. Figuring out your logo and your business card and your branding and your website, and all those things eventually absolutely impact the business, but they're not the place to start.
Right.
And so for me, I was really committed to taking the vision that I had and bringing it to reality, but it was scary. And I became a student of different programs that I was going through, mentors that I was working with, and that really helped me get out of my own way to take the action necessary to go launch that business.
Yeah. Well, I have suffered from that a little bit myself. We launched my movies. It was a great idea, but because of that, then I was kind of thrust into the coaching, role inside the company, which, believe me, I loved, and took to it like a duck to water. But I would often have those feelings come up and go, well, why would anyone listen to me? Like, who am I? Like, I'm from this country town in Australia. I'm one of 8 kids. Like, I'm nobody. And so I struggled with that as well in the beginning. But being able to move that, but also being able to identify that,
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a level of awareness and a level of commitment to notice that that's what's holding us back. When I started, I didn't know who my niche was. I didn't know what my message was. I just knew that I wanted to help people. And so if you're feeling that way watching this, know that you're not alone. Because that's where I honestly believe everyone starts.
Right.
But the commitment that must be made is that even though you feel those feelings, you still take action anyway. You still put yourself outside of your comfort zone and face rejection and face failure, because that's the only way to actually reach that level of success that you're wanting.
Yeah, it's kind of like leaning in. You kind of got to lean into the next step, the next chapter, as scary as it is.
Yes.
Because that's the difference between people who are successful and people who are still on their way to success. We all feel fear. When we're stepping outside that comfort zone, we all feel it. But those who are successful understand what that is and keep moving forward rather than getting stuck in that place.
Yeah. I always say that there's 2 different types of fear.
Yeah.
There's rational fears that keep us alive. Those are good things, right? If you're being chased by a bear, you need those. That's not a bad thing. But there's these irrational fears that actually keep us from living.
Right.
And that's that fear of judgment. It's that fear of rejection. It's that fear of not being enough. And just like you said, the answer is not to be without those fears. I named our business Fearless Coach Academy, but I don't mean being without fear. I mean having the courage and the commitment to actually go do that thing that terrifies you.
Right. Now, you were mentioning before about, one of the challenges you had in the beginning was about finding the right niche.
Yes.
So I'm assuming this is another challenge that some budding coaches find as well.
So this is the second mistake, and is actually not choosing a niche or not staying committed to a niche.
Right.
The reason why I feel that's so common for coaches is because we got into coaching because we want to help people. And because we want to help people, we're open and willing to help anyone with almost anything.
Right.
But when you try to market that, people don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
Right? If people ask what you do and you say, I'm a coach or I'm a life coach, they don't really get what that means. And so I think the core fear here with many aspiring coaches is that if they choose a niche or a niche, they feel like they're going to miss out on opportunity.
Right.
And the opposite is actually true. When you really choose a niche and you commit to it, you don't half your opportunity, you actually triple it.
Right.
And I'll give you a metaphor. This is a way I like to think about this. Is imagine that we're in Marina Del Rey. Imagine that we're standing on the beach, and I give you a net. And I ask you to cast the net out into the water to catch as many fish as possible.
Right.
And many people think that if they cast the net as wide as possible, to take as much space, they're going to catch more fish.
Right.
But what happens to the holes in the net? Do they get bigger or do they get smaller?
They get bigger.
Yeah. And so if the holes get bigger, what happened to the fish?
They get through the holes.
Exactly. So that's the idea, is instead of being like so many people that haven't chosen a niche or narrowed their niche, and they're shouting on social media. You don't want to shout your message on social media. You want to whisper the right message into the right person's ear. And I think that makes all the difference in the world. And yes, you can grow beyond that, right? We look at some successful coaches people know, people like Tony Robbins.
Right.
You know, if you view Tony Robbins, he probably helps anyone with almost anything, right? But he didn't start that way.
Right.
When he started his business, he was very, very narrow. And I think that's a critical piece that every coach, when they're starting, must choose that niche, commit to it, and then you can evolve and grow from there.
Yeah. So if you already have a coaching program and you're kind of struggling and trying to figure out, well, how do I do my marketing? How do I put my message together? And if you have something that doesn't seem to be working, the challenge could be that you haven't narrowed down on your niche. Like if you're a life coach, there are a million different ways that you can show up as a life coach that is going to be, honed into one specific demographic.
Yes.
And that's something that you are brilliant at being able to help people do.
Thank you. And everything gets easier when you actually hone it on your niche.
Yeah.
Because, without that, it's hard to write an email. It's hard to create a Facebook Live. It's hard to produce content when you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So a little way I want you to think about this is when you're thinking about your niche, think about who you want to help and what you want to help them with. So I'll give you an example. Some people could ask me what I do, and I could say I'm a business coach. But that's not very interesting, right? And now what I've learned is when people ask what I do, I say, I help coaches that are aspiring coaches that are struggling with generating enough leads, break their first 6 figures in 12 months or less.
Right.
And notice how specific that is,
Yeah.
how clear. So one of the best ways to clarify your niche is to think about who's the person that you want to help. What are the series of problems that you want to solve? Because that's really what we're doing, right? As a coach, we're helping our clients solve problems. And then what's the promise that we're making them?
Right.
And when you dial in your person, your problem, and your promise, that's when your message can really be seen.
Yeah, no, I love that. Because that's the thing, the more focused we can be, and you know this if you've gone through any of the My Movies programs, we focus in on one thing. And when we can laser focus and put all of our energy into that one track, then we're really setting ourselves up for success. And the same thing happens with our coaching business,
Yeah,
right?
totally. And the nice thing for those of you that want to help everyone, know that when you help one person in one area, it has that ripple effect, right? If somebody improves their health through Mind Movies, that's going to impact their relationships.
Right.
It's going to impact their energy, their confidence in work. They're going to make more money. There's this ripple effect. So know that you're not missing out on this. You choose that niche, you choose the target, and then you have that global impact.
Yeah. So the next challenge, I think, is really tied to limiting beliefs.
Yes.
We all have a money story. My money story, like I grew up in a country town, one of 8 kids, like I mentioned before. So money, it wasn't that we were poor, but, money was tight. Mm-hmm. And so everything I learned about how I saw money, how I reacted around it, how I handled my money, all had to do with my programming from when I was young. The next mistake that I know is, and I've seen it many times, is that, we want to help as many people as possible. And I actually did an interview the other day, and this woman saying, but this is God's work, and I can't charge for God's work. And I'm like, right. And she had someone say to her, are you kidding me? Like, you've just changed my life and you're not taking $50? This is crazy. Yeah. So, do you see this come up often, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's that fear of actually charging or not charging enough.
Right.
So this is very common for everyone who's launching a coaching business or somebody in the early stage. A couple reasons. One is some people feel like it's a disservice if you charge, right? You don't want to have to ask someone to pay, but the opposite is true.
Yeah.
It's actually a disservice if you don't charge, because if you're not asking your clients to invest in themselves, they're not truly committed.
Right.
I'll tell a story about how I experienced this. Right before I launched my coaching business, my best friend at the time, who he passed away a couple years ago, Sean Stevenson, really had a huge impact on me, helped me launch the business, gave me incredible advice, right? He's one of the best coaches and speakers on the planet. But because he was my best friend, and because that advice was free, I wasn't implementing it.
Right.
And it wasn't until I hired my first mentor and I invested a lot of money. This was money I didn't have because I had just lost my sole source of income at the time. And I had to borrow money from family and take on credit card debt. And I think it was about $20,000 is what I invested. The advice that I got from that mentor wasn't that different from Sean.
Right.
But I took massive action because I had skin in the game.
Right.
Like I looked at it as I'm burning the boats. I'm going all in on this. I'm going to do this no matter what I'm afraid of, no matter what's coming up for me. And that's where the results started to happen. So for those of you that are feeling hesitant or fearful of charging, know that it's a disservice if you don't charge. And you want to think about what is the result that your clients are getting. And that's what you want to charge for, not for your time. There's a lot of broken pricing models out there.
Yeah.
If you're coming from, let's say, we've got some clients that are accountants or lawyers and they become coaches, they're used to charging by the hour. And that's not really how you want to charge as a coach. You want to charge on the results that you're getting.
Right.
So that's a mindset shift when you think about it. And I think it's also important to note that you do want to choose a price so that you know for a fact that you can over-deliver on.
Right.
I don't want you to say charge tons of money just to do that, because if you're going to under-promise and if you're going to over-promise and under-deliver, that's going to hurt your credibility. It's going to hurt your impact with those clients and with growing the business. So choose a price that you know you can over-deliver on and then grow from there.
Yeah.
When I first started, my first client was a guy named Steve. And I was working with him. I actually wasn't doing business coaching. I was doing health coaching at the time because that was an area that I had improved in my life. And I think the first client I charged $500 a month.
Right.
And it was a lot of money. Felt like a lot of money at the time. It was really scary.
Yeah.
But within the first month or two, he shares with me, he goes, Peter, listen, don't raise my rates, but you should be charging way more than this.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to hear. So when you hear that, that's when you want to step outside your comfort zone and start raising those rates.
I know. Well, I have my own story about this because, when we started Mind Movies, we knew nothing about the internet. And if you know our story, you know how, I hadn't even heard of YouTube when we started. And we didn't know what to charge. So we're like, $20. I think that'll be good. And it wasn't until we came over to the US, we joined a mastermind, Frank Kern's mastermind group. We were paying $2,700 a month. So it was a big commitment for us because we had no money at the time. Then he was able to help us see the value in what we were offering, and then we were able to take the price point up to $97. But before then, we had no idea, and we didn't understand the value until we were sort of working with someone who we valued their opinions, that we could go, okay, this is the value that I should be charging. So surrounding yourself with the right people or the right environment or the right community that can actually help you see your value so that you feel massively comfortable in asking for what you are worth and what you deserve, I think is paramount when it comes to that.
Absolutely, yeah. And knowing that you're charging, again, not just for your time, but also your life experience, your knowledge, your expertise. Over the last 10, 12 years, I've invested easily over $250,000, right, in my own growth with mentors and seminars and things like that. And so when we're working with students, they're not getting access to that hour of time or that period of time. They're getting access to all of that accumulated experience.
Right.
And when I look at that, I say, okay, why not charge for something that can accelerate somebody's results?
Yeah.
Right? Could they try to figure it out on their own? Totally, they could, and it could take them 10 years.
Yeah.
Or they could collapse that time and get that result in much less.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next thing I want to talk about, because what I've realized, when we started with Mind Movies, it's really interesting. There's been a couple of other people that have come up with a similar idea, but their business haven't really flourished, but we flourished massively because we understood something that was very important. We realized that we had to get very good at figuring out how to get people to find us, like how to funnel people in, and we had to be very proactive about that. So I think the other challenge that people have is they go, okay, I'm going to be a life coach, I'm going to set this up, and then kind of sit there and wait for people to come to them. But that doesn't happen, right?
No, not at all. So yeah, thinking that people are going to come to you, you actually have to go out and generate leads and attract them to you. Yeah. So there's a movie, I'm going to date myself here, but there's a movie in the 1980s called Field of Dreams. It's a baseball movie. Yep. And they had a metaphor in that movie that said, if you build it, they will come, referring to a baseball stadium. That is the worst business advice ever. Because it doesn't happen in the real world, right? If you build it, they won't come. You actually have to gain the skill sets to get your message out there, to attract people to you, to have enrollment conversations. And I think the problem is that these are not the skills that coaches get into coaching to learn, right? They get into coaching because you want to help people. But if you're really committed to help people, isn't it our moral responsibility to learn those skills to attract people to us?
Yeah.
That's a really, really important distinction.
Yeah, and the beauty of the internet is that there are a myriad of ways that you can do that. You know, for us, when we started, you know, we did the affiliate marketing thing because, you know, it suited mine and Glenn's personalities. We were people. And so having these relationships and working with other people in the, you know, that had, you know, lists as well, that suited us. We had other friends of ours that did the, you know, Google AdWords because they were mathematical, they were more analytical, so that kind of suited their personality. So there's a myriad of different things that you can do that suits who you are, so it doesn't need to be painful, right?
That's such good advice, yeah, because it's important to think about what are your strengths?
Yeah.
What do you love doing and leverage that? Because I've made the mistake before of working with a mentor and just modeling them blindly because it's worked for them, but it didn't light me up.
Right.
And I found myself bored and frustrated those times, but to figure out what I love doing, right? I'm not the best at writing copy, but I love being on video. I love connecting with clients. Like this is what juices me up, right? So to find those strengths and to leverage those will accelerate the growth.
Yeah, because people think of marketing, especially if you're a great coach, you go, oh my God, the marketing, I don't even want to look at that. Yeah. It doesn't have to be painful and it doesn't have to be hard. You just want to find something that suits you. And there is, like we said, so many different things that you can choose from.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that kind of leads into the next mistake, which is avoiding the things like marketing, sales, and systems. So the key idea here is, as a coach, you want to become a student of that just as much as you're a student of coaching.
Right.
You know, I think it's critical that we gain the skills, right, to facilitate transformation. To work and learn how to coach people is really, really important. And it doesn't stop there, right? You don't want to just master coaching. You want to master marketing, copywriting, speaking, influence, persuasion. All of those skill sets are going to actually help you help more people.
Right.
And I get that the challenge, right, I think many aspiring coaches have, is they have this thought to themselves that I'd love to do that, but I'm just not good at technology. Right. Or I don't get systems.
Not that I've heard that 1,000 times before.
Right?
But
Exactly. But here's the thing, right? We will retain a belief only as long as we choose to hold on to it.
That's right.
And so the more that you reinforce, I'm not good at tech or I don't understand systems, is going to hold you back from actually having the impact that you want to have.
Yeah.
So I had to condition myself to fall in love with marketing because I realized that my marketing, your marketing, is going to impact more people than our coaching ever will.
Yeah.
And this is huge, right? Because there's only so many people that we can coach. But if you can commit at the same level of mastery to getting your message out there, to influencing people to take action through your emails, through Facebook Lives, through all the different ways to share your message, that's where a ripple effect can really take off.
Yeah. So, and to add to this, again, with our experience, you know, I remember in the beginning, you know, there was Ryan, Glenn, and myself. There was the three of us, and we were doing everything. We were learning everything for the first time, you know, and it was a little challenge because, you know, we were accelerated. We went from like a list of 8,000, this little teeny tiny little 8,000 list, to our first initial launch, which blew us out to 80,000 and did the big, massive launch of Mind Movies. But the whole time, we needed to learn these skills and we needed to get, you know, passionate about marketing. But we never foresee that we were going to do it forever. You know, and we always used to look at the long term. We'd have these conversations in present tense as if it had already happened about the team that we were building. So it's not like we're saying that if you learn these, yes, you want to learn the marketing and yes, you want to know this, But maybe your vision is to start to build a little team so that you don't have to do all the work yourself eventually. But I think in the beginning, it's important that you know how to do this so that you can manage the team.
That is such a good point. Thank you for sharing that, because you're right. To grow, to scale beyond that, right, you need to stop doing a lot of the stuff that you did to start, to launch.
Yeah.
Marshall Goldsmith is a great coach. He wrote a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Right.
But what got you here, right, to go from launch, from 0 to, say, 6 figures, if you don't have the resources to hire a team, you absolutely got to roll up your sleeves and do that stuff.
Right.
And even if you do have the resources to hire a team, what if they don't get it right? Mm-hmm. What if you hire a consultant outside or an agency and they don't get it right, but you don't understand the strategies behind what they did?
Right.
How can you know what they did wrong or know how to improve?
Right.
So that's a really, really important thing. And then as you grow, absolutely let go of control and delegate.
Yeah. Totally.
That's another video.
Yeah. I know. And the other thing, because, I used to say this a lot when I used to speak on stage, and this is kind of a motto for my life, and that is I just bite off more than I can chew, and then I just chew like hell. So I've always been the type of person that I'm like, right, let's start action and just build it as we go. And I think that that's one of the, creating that momentum is important, because I think the next mistake a lot of coaches make is that you're in the learning phase, but you stay there.
Yes.
You're not moving forward.
Yeah, and it's that fear of, right, doing something wrong. It's that fear of failing. And I have so much compassion because I felt this my whole life. Like, we've grown up, and I'm going to generalize, but many of us have grown up in environments where our guardians, our education system, society has reinforced that it has to be perfect.
Right.
We can't get it wrong, right?
Yeah.
We're graded on whatever letter you get, on your diploma. But as a business owner, to launch a business, the only way to succeed is to allow yourself to go out there and take action and risk all of that and fail and fall down and get yourself up again.
Yeah.
We've helped a lot of coaches, and that a lot of them that are just starting are stuck in, let me read another book. Let me listen to another podcast. Let me do this before actually taking that action necessary.
Yeah.
And so part of that is because of our own limiting beliefs, right? Our own imposter syndrome. For those of you that feel that you want to, you haven't arrived yet, you're not ready to, you don't have to have arrived at the destination to coach another person. Right? You don't have to be a billionaire to help somebody, release money blocks.
Right.
You can be a few steps ahead of somebody. And if you have experienced a result that they're wanting, then that gives you the qualification to help them. I always view that either you're qualified to help somebody or you're not, and many of us are, but we discount that.
Right.
So action, I would say that there is no wrong action that you can take.
Absolutely not. I'm 1,000% on that. Yeah. You do not want to wait to make sure you've got the website and the marketing and the podcast and whatever else you're going to be doing. You don't have to have all of that ready to get started. And the way that you build the business and the way that you build your customer base is by doing. It's the only way to do that. And yes, there may be some mistakes along the way. But, again, if you're involved in part of a community and you've got support around you, those mistakes are not very costly. It's very quick to get over them, and you'd be able to keep that momentum going and keep moving forward. And it's just, that's what's so important about, making sure that you have that community around you, right?
Yeah, totally. To get that support. Also to know that when you do launch, right, the only way to know if something worked or not is to get the feedback.
Right.
So, I've created many funnels when I was first starting. That fell flat when I first launched it, right? It did not, I put an ad out there and crickets. I got no leads. But that's how I learned. I got the data back to make decisions off of, to say, okay, here's what's not working. Let's test something else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think the last mistake that we want to talk about today is how we don't have the right support around us. Yeah. I was saying before, we joined the Frank Kern's mastermind group. We didn't know anything. We were over there like 3 very naive, with no experience. But it wasn't just being connected with Frank, who was our coach, but it was also everyone else that was involved in that group. They were all internet marketers. So we just became sponges. And even though they were in different niches and doing different work online, we all got to, rise because we were able to connect with each other and exchange ideas. But having Frank, we credit a lot of our success in the beginning and the launch to being aligned with him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's a great proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
Right.
And sure, you can get started alone, but are you going to get to that result far enough to where you want to really get to? Like, can you actually have the impact and the income and the freedom on your own? You could eventually get there, but it could take a very, very long time. That's what I experienced, right? When I first launched, I was in that learning phase. I was afraid of falling down and seeking out mentors that had the results that I wanted, that helped others achieve those results. And we're transparent about it. I felt like there's this level of confidence and certainty that I got to borrow from my mentors when I didn't have it myself. So when you're starting, I think it's critical to find a coach, to find a mentor, to access their knowledge, to access their experience, to associate with other people on the same journey, right? Today, especially today, people feel lonely on the entrepreneurial path.
Right.
And we're conditioned in school, like I said earlier, to try to figure it out on our own. I think that's the worst thing to do right now. So why not associate with other people that are facing similar challenges, that are pursuing similar goals, and then make sure to have some level of accountability, right? When you're in the room with other people that are playing a big game, they don't let you slide.
That's right.
Right? You put a goal out there and you can't hide anymore. You've got to show up to that next meeting. You've got to show up to that next call. And there's just this level of movement that happens through that.
Yeah. Well, and again, with our mind movie story, because it's just so related to everything that we're talking about now. But, you know, for those of you who know the story, that, you know, everything that could go wrong went wrong. You know, I remember, the email delivery system that we were using shut down our account halfway through our pre-launch week when we're gathering all these leads, because our list was growing so big, they assumed we were doing something illegal. If it wasn't for Frank getting on the phone and going, no, these guys are legit, it's all good, we were able to minimize the effect of that. You know, we had our account got frozen for 6 months, with $500,000 in it, and we nearly went bankrupt. We couldn't even pay our affiliates. But it was one of the women that was in the mastermind group who was a lawyer that got on the phone with PayPal and was able to go to town on these guys and be able to release the funds. And even in the beginning, like when we found out that there was this economic crisis happening on the planet, we had $120,000 on credit cards. We're like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work? We're toast. It was Frank that came in and went, guys, you've just built an email list of 80,000 people. He goes, you now have a business. He goes, even if it doesn't work, you are going to be okay. And so even having that advice at that time, because we were having a little meltdown, it helped us to stay focused, to do what had to be done. And as you know, we did a $700,000 launch with this little $97 program, which was unheard of, but because we had the right support and everyone around us. So
that's huge. Yeah, and when you're alone, right, that fear that may start quietly grows into a shout. It gets really loud when you're alone. To have somebody like Frank in your corner, right, giving you that advice, reminding you the results that you got, how you grew that, you built a list of 80,000 people. It's and that's our job as coaches, right? To shine a light on our clients' blind spots, to show them their magnificence, to hold up a mirror for them to see how great they really are.
Yeah, so very important.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about some of the success stories, some of the people that you've worked with that that are just out there making a big difference in the world.
Totally, yeah. We've got a lot. One of them that comes to mind is actually most recently Corey. She's one of our clients who's a career coach, and she helps people land their purpose-driven career. She started as a recruiter, and she just didn't want to have to keep going through resumes. She wanted to do something more fulfilling. So she launched a coaching business, and she was at zero. And actually, she just texted me a couple weeks ago saying that she crossed for the first time her first 6 figures. Oh. She hit $102,000, which is huge for her. A complete, absolute transformation. We've had other coaches that got to a place where they started doing just one-on-one coaching, which I think is a great place for many to start. Yeah. But the problem is it's not a great place to stay because it can't really scale,
That's
right?
right.
With one-on-one.
And you're not reaching as many people as you should be
Exactly.
with your message.
Yeah,
right?
and this was a men's coach, a men's health coach, really powerful guy from Australia, actually. And we helped him build a leverage group coaching program where he started to do retreats in Australia and do more group events, and his business has thrived through that.
Yeah.
Gosh, we've had so many different niches and areas. We've had some people start as just mindset coaches, right? Helping people with mindset, which is, I think, what many of us need, but it's harder if you don't articulate the message properly to sell that. Right. So really helped him hone in on his message to cut through the noise and attract who his ideal clients are.
Right. So I also want to know, like, where are people at when they start working with you? Like, are they already coaches? Are they budding coaches? Are they, I want to toy with this idea and see if it's going to work? Like, where are they when they first start with you?
Both of those areas. So
Right.
some of them have not launched a business yet at all. They don't have an idea. They have no paying clients. They're unclear on their niche. They're unclear on their message. We really help them lay the foundation.
Right.
So that's somebody who may be, running their own different business right now, or somebody in a job that just wants to get into something that has more meaning and purpose to them, and they know that coaching could be that. So we've helped a lot of those coaches go from zero to launch.
Because this could be a little side hustle.
Totally.
It's not
Yes.
like you have to, if coaching is something that you've been kind of toying with, you think, I'd really like to do that. You don't have to burn your bridges. You don't have to quit your job and then go, right, I'm going to do this. This could be something that you build on the side so that you still have stability financially,
Yes.
but that you're able to follow this passion till you get to a point where you're like, this is what I want to do.
And for those of you that are starting from zero and you're, say, working in a job, I actually recommend that is keep the job to build this out on the side, because it is more challenging to create a business from a place of financial scarcity.
Yeah.
Right? When you're in a place where your bills are getting paid, maybe you're not able to put the amount of time or focus into it, but you can work on the evenings, you can work on the weekends, and you can grow this on the side. That's actually what Corey did,
Right.
Who I shared earlier. So also, some people, you don't even have to be working in a job. We've got clients that are stay-at-home moms that are so busy with that, but they want to also do something outside of family. And so that's really fun to see them actually look at and own their amazing magnificence, which many of them discount at times for some reason, even though I think they're extraordinary, to actually go out and launch a coaching business.
Yeah. So when people work with you, you help to teach them, walk me through the process of everything. Like, do they have to be a coach first, or do you teach them that as well? Like, what's that?
Yeah, we'll teach. So I like thinking about it in 3 pillars.
Right.
So imagine a triangle, and there's 3 pillars. Each side is one of the pillars. So we teach them how to attract leads, like actually generate prospects, enroll clients, and deliver their coaching.
Right.
So all of those aren't just, it's not just marketing and sales, it's actually how to be an amazing coach.
Right.
So we'll teach them how to unpack their process, to get clear on exactly who their niche is, to hone what I call their magnetic message, so they can cut through the noise, and to actually lay out a coaching program where in the beginning it is one-on-one, and they take on a handful of case study clients, where they are honing their skills and they're collecting case studies and success stories, because those success stories become your marketing, right? And then from there, some of them do that organically. Some of them do that through market research calls with their network. Many of them get to a point where they want to learn how to actually get that message online. So we'll teach them things like building their funnels and growing their email list and setting up their Facebook group and managing all their social media. So it's a very holistic approach.
So if you are watching this video right now and you are thinking about becoming a coach, or anything that we've said today that's resonated with you, I encourage you to reach out. So how can people reach out to you, Peter? How can they work?
Thank you, Nat. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the best next step is to brainstorm the vision that you have for your coaching business.
Right.
So a good next step would be actually to schedule a call with me or my team where we can actually map out a game plan for launching this business. We can take a look at the niche you're considering, the message that you want to work with, the price point that you want to offer, and actually identify some of those things that may have held you back. Some of you, this video may be the first time you considered this. I know many of you, this may have been inside of you for a while,
Yeah.
right? And now's the time to actually take the action. So that's the best place to start, is to schedule a call. It can be a short 15-minute call. We just want to explore if or how we can help, and then map out a game plan for launching. And then if we can, you can take that plan and you can run with it on your own if you want to. But we offer this because we know some of you may want help in implementing it.
Right.
And so if that's you, great, we can talk about that. If that's not you, awesome as well. You still get a great plan. But the only way to get the plan would be, I'd say, book in the call. So I would invite anyone who's ready to take this message, work on their niche, actually turn this into a business to start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we getting them to do that? Are they clicking on a
simple
link?
way. Yeah, so simple way. Good point. Easiest way to do that is you can click on a link on the page, or you can just go to sixfigurecoachsecrets.com. That's the website where you simply answer a couple questions about what your vision is for the business, and then you book in the call.
Yeah. So that link will be below this video so that you can do that. And I encourage you just to click on the link and have a chat.
Yeah.
Even if it's something you're like, I'm toying with this, I'm not sure whether this is something I want to do, that phone call, which could be 15 minutes, could either give you the clarity that you need, or, and at least help you on the road to be able to see whether this is something that you would love to do moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having that clarity of knowing if this is the right path, I really do feel that when we have these calls, we can get there in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
And it releases a lot of the anxiety or the fear or the resistance that people have with launching.
Yeah. Well, Peter, thank you so much.
Matt,
thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who are watching the video, like I said, if coaching is something that you have really been considering, I encourage you to click on the link below, book in a time, and at least have the conversation. That way you can see whether this is something that you want to pursue. And I know that if you have gone through a transformation yourself and you want to help other people, then this is a fantastic way to be able to do that. So
yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nat, for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today, everyone. Bye for now.
See you soon.